On World News Tonight this Wednesday, Terry Nichols avoids the death sentence for his role in the Oklahoma City bombing. One of the world's most popular airplanes, the government orders an immediate safety inspection. And our report on the cloning controversy, because one American scientist says he's ready to go.
Remember, you can't stop science.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. The jury couldn't agree, and so the judge took the decision out of their hands. Terry Nichols will not get the death penalty for his role in the Oklahoma City bombing. The jury had found him guilty for crimes for which the death penalty was an option, but they struggled so much in the penalty phase that today the judge sent them home. We don't know yet what it is the judge thinks the penalty should be, but it will not be death. Only the jury could have made that call. So first we go to Denver, and here's ABC's Bob Jameson. Bob?
Peter, it was a stunning defeat for the prosecution, which had demanded the death penalty. Now it isn't even certain Terry Nichols will spend the rest of his life in prison. Nichols learned last night in a conference with Judge Richard Maich he would be spared. He showed no emotion when the judge ended the deliberations. One juror cried, others looked dejected. Nichols then embraced the wife of his chief defense lawyer, Michael Tiger. Prosecutors left, grim-faced and saying little.
It falls to us now to proceed forward in court with his honor, to press for the most appropriate sentence.
Moments after the decision, Nichols' family, parents, brothers, sister, posed together for a smiling snapshot outside the courthouse. Nearby, there was bitterness from those whose family members died in the bombing.
God forbid if Terry Nichols ever walked the streets again. I hope the next building that's blown up will not hold some of the jurors' relatives.
I just don't understand. I want to know where they're coming from.
They just didn't have the guts enough to go ahead and do what they should be doing.
But jury foreperson Nikki Deutschman brought no apology to a news conference.
I think that revenge and vengeance is very different from justice.
The 47-year-old obstetrical nurse defended the verdict acquitting Nichols of murder.
I think that the government didn't do a good job of proving that Terry Nichols was greatly involved in all of this. And we took our responsibility very seriously for justice and proving beyond a reasonable doubt.
And Deutschman said the defense persuaded the jury others might have been involved in the bombing.
I think the government dropped the ball, and if there are people who were very actively involved in this horrible crime, that it's an obligation to find them.
Other jurors weren't so certain of the verdict.
You know, there's always that shadow of a doubt in your mind, did I do the right thing? And God, I hope we did.
The jury was deeply divided from the beginning over the death penalty, and Judge Maich clearly decided further deliberations would be useless, that the entire jury would never agree to put Nichols to death. Peter?
Bob, thanks. We're going to go back to Denver in a second, but nowhere, of course, does this news have a greater impact than in Oklahoma itself. The city and the state have struggled with this disaster for more than 2 years, and it is still possible that Nichols will face the death penalty there. ABC's Dean Reynolds is in Oklahoma City. Dean.
Peter, the prevailing view here in Oklahoma City is a combination of frustration and disappointment, and in some cases, anger. The governor of Oklahoma said the non-decision in Denver just prolongs the agony.
It was raining and bitterly cold at the Fence of Broken Hearts this morning as the news from a jury 500 miles away began to take hold.
I think he's as guilty for killing 168 people as McVeigh is. And I'm not happy with what they've done.
He deserves to die, and he deserves to die painfully.
All over town, it was the same.
They didn't do their job. It was a clear job. It was an easy job to do, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it.
People here are looking for justice from Judge Richard Maich, but they clearly look for stronger punishment now from the separate local prosecution of Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols that's being prepared by District Attorney Bob Macy. And Macy is in no doubt about his mission.
The goal is whoever blew up that building down the street and killed all those people face justice. And the men that did that need to die.
Now, there are many people here who want to move on now, who want to put this tragedy behind them. But there are others closer to the bombing who believe that death is really the proper punishment. One survivor of this explosion told me today that regardless of what the jurors in Denver are saying, this is not an issue of vengeance. It is a matter of justice, he said. It's a matter of what's right. Peter?
Thanks very much, Dean Reynolds, in Oklahoma City. Now we're going to go back to Denver because our legal analyst, Jeffrey Toobin, has been there throughout the trial. Jeffrey, everybody would like to know what the judge is going to do, but more importantly, what can he do?
Well, what he will do is apply the federal sentencing guidelines, but it's not clear what they require. The prosecution will ask that he impose a life sentence, but the defense, because the main underlying counts here involve only involuntary manslaughter, may well ask for a sentence of time served.
So there's up until this point?
Well, that could be one interpretation of the guidelines. I think it's a long shot, but it just shows how broad Judge Maitch's discretion is.
Now bring your thinking to bear on the Oklahoma City factor. He can be tried in Oklahoma City for murder, face the death penalty. There's that not double jeopardy?
Well, it sure sounds like double jeopardy. Two trials are on the same set of facts, but courts in recent years have held in several different occasions that federal and state trials over the same set of facts are permissible, so it does look like the case that Bob Macy wants to bring can go forward and a death penalty could be applied.
Jeffrey Toobin in Denver, Bob Jamieson and Dean Reynolds as well. One other note about crime tonight in Idaho. An FBI sniper is going to have to face trial for killing the wife of white separatist Randy Weaver during that 1992 standoff in Ruby Ridge. In 1994, the Justice Department refused to press charges, but today an Idaho judge has ordered Lon Horiuchi to stand trial for involuntary manslaughter. So in a moment, we'll go on to the day's other news. A plane crash in Indonesia has the United States very concerned about the Boeing 737s. Is Iran trying to make peace or make trouble for the United States? And why is sugar so expensive anyway? The government is involved, and it's your money.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, brought to you by Just for Men.
I thought you were starting to go gray.
I was, but I never did.
So what happened, a miracle?
You can't tell?
Tell what?
I use Just for Men.
That's hair color?
Even your barber can't tell you use the hair coloring called Just for Men. Just for Men has a unique shampoo-in formula that blends away gray. Apply, then rinse in just 5 easy minutes, and it matches your gray to your natural color.
I never would have guessed.
Just for Men. So natural, even your barber can't tell.
Buttery new Brummel & Brown. The creamy taste of butter blended with the goodness of yogurt. Taste a bunch like butter on broccoli with less fat. Brummel & Brown. Bliss on bagels, bold and baked potatoes. New Brummel & Brown. Taste buttery on beans. And baked in butternut squash. Rubber on banana bread. A bit on buckwheats is boss.
New Brummel & Brown. The creamy taste of butter blended with the wholesome goodness of yogurt.
Must be new Brummel & Brown. Yeah.
After his heart attack, Ed's doctor told him to exercise and take aspirin regularly. So he takes genuine Bayer aspirin to help prevent a second heart attack. Ask your doctor. But then there are those days when Ed's muscles ache and Ed could use extra strength Bayer. Nothing is stronger for everyday pain. If you're on an aspirin regimen, you don't need Tylenol because doctors say you can take more aspirin for pain.
How are your legs?
Great. Race you home. Bayer, powerful pain relief and so much more.
Tonight, despite the weather in some cities, many thousands of Americans are going to get on airplanes and fly somewhere. And more of them are going to fly on board 737s than any other plane, made by Boeing. ABC News has now learned that the Federal Aviation Administration is expected to order inspections of 185 of the 737s because of what they have learned about a crash last month in Indonesia. ABC's Lisa Stark has the details.
Investigators are so concerned by what they found in the wreckage from the Singapore jetliner that they are convinced urgent inspections are needed on newer 737s, those built within the last 2 years. The Silk Air plane was only 8 months old when it fell out of the sky from 35,000 feet, hurtling to the ground at more than 600 miles an hour. According to sources, investigators believe fasteners were missing from the plane's horizontal stabilizer, essentially a rear wing that helps the plane fly level. Sources say the FAA is worried about what they call a production problem, that nearly 200 737s may be missing bolts that attach the front edge and the movable rear flap to the stabilizer. Sources say the FAA is worried these critical bolts may have been left out when the planes were built. Significant damage to a horizontal stabilizer in flight could cause a catastrophic loss of control.
Once the FAA puts out its inspection order, airlines will have 24 hours or 5 flights to check the affected 737s. Boeing points out that even if investigators have turned up missing parts on the Silk Air's horizontal stabilizer, there is no proof that caused the crash. Lisa Stark, ABC News, Washington.
There is some very big news about tobacco today. In Washington, a California biotechnology company has pleaded guilty to illegally conspiring with a major tobacco company to grow tobacco with extra nicotine. Brown and Williamson and other companies have insisted under oath that they do not manipulate nicotine in their products. The biotech company DNAP has agreed to cooperate with a Justice Department investigation into possible criminal wrongdoing by all the major tobacco companies. More to come. The top-selling car of 1997 was announced today, and the winner is Toyota Camry. Toyota outsold both the Honda Accord and the Ford Taurus, which has been number one for the past 5 years. On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrials lost just under 4 points to close at 79.02. On the NASDAQ market, stocks lost almost 18.5 points. Just ahead, is there the possibility of peace between America and Iran?
Gas? Bloating? Need relief that's Fazyme Fast?
Yes.
Get new maximum strength Fazyme, now with 33% more medicine in each pill. Relieve gas. Fazyme Fast. More medicine, fast relief. Fazyme.
Nobody does it like you.
To deep clean your carpet and upholstery, you can get a Hoover Steam Vac Ultra and pay once. Or pay these guys
Nobody
every time.
does it like you.
The nest is empty. Your work is done.
So powerful.
It's time to kick back and have some fun.
So agile.
You got the car now.
DeVille with the North Star system.
For who you are now, you're making whoopee.
DeVille for the time of your life.
Oh, look at you.
Millions, including me, use a great product to keep their hair shiny and manageable. But I was surprised, and I'm in the tip business. Its same organic moisturizers help heal chapped elbows. And get this, its natural protectants keep silver from tarnishing and take scuff marks off boots. What's been natural and organic for over 40 years? Alberto VO5 hairdressing. You think the VO5 people know about this?
VO5 hairdressing, natural hair care, and so much more.
Sinus pain, so much pressure, I just can't focus.
Mom, what's 13 into 260?
Kevin, just give me a minute.
Mom, you okay?
Now clear the sinus pain with Tavist Sinus. It's new. It goes beyond pain relievers like extra strength Tylenol to not only relieve pain, but unclog the congestion that may cause the sinus pain. So you're clear-headed again.
Can you say that again? You went too fast.
Why suffer sinus pain? Be clear-headed, clear through your day with new Tavist Sinus.
Tonight, last week, a nurse charged with murder. Now, another hospital, another nurse, more than 40 deaths under his watch.
This is a case that has been botched by everybody.
Primetime investigates tonight.
There is just the faint possibility tonight that a new chapter can be written in the relationship between the United States and Iran. Once again, the new Iranian president, Mohammad Khatami, has reached out to the United States. In an interview with CNN, he praises Americans and he calls for a thoughtful dialogue between the people of the two countries. For the nearly 20 years since Americans were held hostage in Iran, going soft on Iran has been taboo in American politics, and so it's a tough question for President Clinton. How to respond to a friendly voice from Tehran? We check in first at the White House. Here's ABC's John Donovan.
When it was Ayatollah Khomeini, everyone knew where they stood. Iran was the enemy. Khatami complicates that. His overtures have touched off a debate within the administration over how or even whether to respond. Now there are those who say that isolating Iran may not be the answer, that the U.S. should reach out to a moderate Iranian president while the chance is there, especially since it is getting harder to isolate Iran. Allies like France argue that the way to influence the Iranians is to do business with them. France's Total oil company last year signed a $2 billion deal with Iran, The U.S. has a law on the books that would punish Total for doing that with economic sanctions.
But tonight, a senior official says that no decision has been made yet about enforcing that law. Perhaps an indication that the administration is still weighing whether it's really worth it or even possible to keep those walls up around Iran. John Donvan, ABC News at the White House.
But while there are many people coming around to the view that trying to isolate Iran is counterproductive, that sanctions do not work, there is certainly another view. It's the one that some people have held ever since the Iranian Revolution. Here's ABC's John McWethy.
Despite Iran's recent charm offensive, American officials are wary. First, there is Iran's support of terrorism. U.S. intelligence sources tell ABC News that Iranian surveillance of American diplomatic and military facilities has, in fact, increased, especially in the Middle East. In addition, the CIA estimates Iran still provides more than $100 million a year to radical Islamic groups such as Hezbollah and Hamas that regularly strike Israel. Iran also is building up its military, developing chemical and biological weapons and longer-range missiles to carry them.
Iran has a serious ballistic missile development program that probably within less than a year will threaten our troops in the Middle East and our allies there.
But analysts do not believe that Iran's new president is in charge of either military or terrorist activities. His rival is religious leader Ayatollah Khamenei, who is openly anti-American.
All this poses another problem for Washington: how to encourage President Khatami without embracing him so warmly that he is undermined. He has many rivals who will feel threatened by any opening to the U.S. John McWethy, ABC News, the Pentagon.
Two other notes from overseas. In the Mediterranean today, military exercises between the United States, Israel, and Turkey. Arab nations in the region are upset because they believe that closer relations between Israel and Turkey threaten them. They have captured another person on the FBI's most wanted list. Tung Nguyen, accused of murder in New York State, was returned to the United States today by Vietnam. Being on the list is not a good way to avoid capture. Over 90% of those who've had their pictures so widely circulated have either been captured or at least located. When we come back, it isn't just sheep anymore. We're going to revisit the debate over cloning. It has a new urgency, as we said last night.
Heart and soul, I fell in love with you.
Wouldn't it make sense to eat more of something that's hot and delicious that you know you love? Especially if you found out it was good for your heart. Well, soluble fiber from oatmeal as part of a heart-healthy diet may reduce the risk of heart disease, which means eating Quaker oatmeal could be one of the easiest ways there is to do your heart good. So wouldn't it make sense to have it more often?
You got me heart and soul.
I work for a dermatologist, so I see what people go through with psoriasis and eczema. That's why I'm excited about the latest therapy from Cordaid. Cordaid Intensive Therapy. In preference tests, it was chosen over Cortisone 10. Cordaid Intensive Therapy has the most powerful medicine you can buy to stop the itch and help you heal quickly. Plus 7 soothing skin moisturizers. And there's no brand doctors recommend more than Cordaid. Cordaid Intensive Therapy. Today's preferred therapy for psoriasis and eczema.
Wouldn't you rather have something under the hood than on it? This is the supercharged Bonneville. One of the world's most powerful sports sedans. Inside and out. It's time traditional luxury collected some dust. Luxury with attitude. The Bonneville by Pontiac.
Why does Tums control acid faster than Pepsid AC? Because they work on your stomach acid in totally different ways. Tums Calcium naturally, rapidly neutralizes acid so it works fast. Pepsid AC's famotidine has to travel through your bloodstream, so it takes at least 40 minutes to block natural acid production. So why does Tums work on acid faster and cost less, and Pepsid AC works slower and costs more?
Good question.
Tums. Well, we're going to go back now to the controversy about cloning human beings. Last night we told you that a scientist in the Chicago area has announced plans to set up a lab to clone people, to do for humans what the Scottish scientist did for Dolly the sheep. The reaction was immediate, raising questions both about the science and certainly the ethics. Here's ABC's Rebecca Chase.
I'm in the process of establishing a human clone clinic, and it is my goal to produce the first live human happy bouncing baby clone.
Richard Seed earned his doctorate from Harvard in physics, but says he has spent the last 20 years working on fertility. Still, his announcement today was met with shock, even scorn, from well-known infertility specialists.
No ethical or professional infertility lab would be making crazy statements like were made by Seed in Chicago.
From the chairman of the National Bioethics Advisory Commission.
I think it's scientifically premature. We haven't done enough animal studies yet, and it's clinically premature.
Seed predicted his success would remove all opposition.
And it will change when there are half a dozen bouncing baby clones, bouncing, smiling, happy baby clones with happy parents.
Even though making Dolly was extremely difficult, the technology to try is readily available. There are nearly 300 fertility clinics in the United States, and most of them, like this one here in Atlanta, already perform some of the same techniques that are used in human cloning. That's why California has already banned human cloning, and a federal ban is before Congress. Today, Secretary of Health and Human Services, Donna Shalala, said the Food and Drug Administration could stop Seed's experiments. But Seed said he is already making plans to get around any regulation.
Any rational organization of a human clone clinic would organize for an alternative or offshore site. And we are doing that, yes. You can't stop science. It's impossible.
Rebecca Chase, ABC News, Atlanta.
Well, as you can see, we look for reaction in a lot of places. We were very interested to know what the man who cloned Dolly the sheep last year thought about all this. And Dr. Ian Wilmot said the ethics are not the same when it comes to humans.
You have a man and a woman and a child who is a copy of one of those two. Now, I think that is not going to be a normal family. So I would be sad, actually, for all of the people, but particularly the child in that family.
Dr. Wilmot said he doesn't want a ban on cloning human cells altogether, though because the technique could cure diseases like Parkinson's and muscular dystrophy. Other news today for President Clinton, another proposal for Congress to consider when it gets back to work, this one to help more working parents find and pay for child care. The total cost to the government, if Congress agrees, $21 billion. States would get $7.5 billion more than they do now in block grants. For the working poor, $5 billion in tax credits. And for any company that provides child care, a tax break as large as $150,000. There's another study today about men and their hearts. The New England Journal of Medicine says today that walking, especially for older men, can be a lifesaver. Men between 60 and 80 who walk 2 miles a day lower their risk of heart attack by nearly 20% over men who only walk a mile a day. You can eat the fish later. Walking is something the Detroit Lions' Reggie Brown has not taken for granted for the last several weeks, certainly not since millions of fans saw this collision that left him with a bruised spine. But today, a sign of dramatic progress. Brown walking in public for the first time. Just ahead, why are Americans paying more than $1 billion too much for sugar? It is your money.
When you get heartburn, indigestion, and pain, don't get these to relieve all your symptoms. When pain this bad grabs you, don't grab these for complete or fast relief. Problems this bad need the 100% solution. Alka-Seltzer, the only one with both the effervescent power to speed relief and the medicines to relieve all your symptoms. Heartburn and pain are no problem when you've got the 100% solution. Alka-Seltzer.
This is the Chevy Venture. It's the only minivan to offer a separate front and rear sound system. Because kids don't ever listen to the same music their parents do. Chevy Venture.
I'm 64. Is there anything I can do to stop bone loss?
Absolutely. Here's proof. In a landmark clinical study, Caltrate actually stopped bone loss in women at risk for osteoporosis, whatever your age.
It's never too late for Caltrate.
Life's an adventure because you're over 50 and still exploring. So take the Centrum made just for you, Centrum Silver, with age-essential nutrients specially adjusted to keep pace with your changing nutritional needs. Centrum Silver, it's a great time to be silver.
We are tempted to say that this final report tonight on how the government spends your money isn't very sweet, or that it'll leave a sour taste in your mouth. But this goes beyond a poor attempt at humor. Americans pay far too much for sugar, and the government's fingerprints are all over the price tag. Here's ABC's John Martin.
Every time you buy these cookies, this bottle of ketchup, or this box of cereal, any food that contains sugar, you're paying too much. Why? It's the artificially high price of sugar. Congress's watchdog says it costs 22 cents a pound here, about twice as much as on the world market.
This is where critics say it all starts, that the government practically guarantees growers they won't lose money growing this sugar cane because it keeps out most foreign sugar.
The government forces up the price by restricting the supply, making sugar one of the last farm products that doesn't compete with foreign crops.
Wheat competes, corn competes, everybody else competes. Why shouldn't sugar compete?
It's a sweet deal for 35 or so U.S. sugar companies, but should leave a sour taste with 200 million American consumers who spend $1.4 billion a year more than necessary. There's been a push in Congress to change the sugar policy, but growers say even if the price paid to sugar makers did go down, consumers would still lose.
What would happen initially is all the Americans would go out of business because the price would drop. Then once we were gone, the price would go back up, and then you'd have a sugar OPEC.
But the General Accounting Office disagrees completely, and some companies say that if the price stays high, jobs will be lost. This company says 650 of its U.S. jobs are in jeopardy.
A lot of our candy production is done offshore now, and it will continue to be produced offshore as long as our sugar prices are so much higher in this country.
And it's the government that's the single biggest sugar customer, since it buys food for so many programs. That adds $90 million to your tab, a tab that totals nearly $1.5 billion. It's your money. John Martin, ABC News, Clewiston, Florida.
And that is our report on World News Tonight. Later this evening from ABC News Primetime Live, college wrestlers training too hard and dying to qualify. I'm Peter Jennings. Have a good evening. Good night.
Tomorrow, America could have the best schools in the world, except for one thing. Find out what's holding us back on ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source. ABC News.